Welcome to the weekday Q&A with your host, Ryan Kennedy, where I answer questions submitted by our listeners like yourself. These short daily episodes cover a wide variety of topics to help bring you strategies, tools, and insights to optimize your health and better your life. Now on to today's episode. Hey, welcome back to the show, everyone. Today's question is, I've heard from various sources that supplements don't work, but other people say they're important, so I'm confused. Can you please explain if vitamin supplements are necessary for good health if one is eating a healthy diet? I love this question because I used to think supplements were a load of just complete marketing scams and they didn't help you and you didn't absorb them and it was all sort of nonsense. And as I went through my own evolution of learning about this stuff, studying under different practitioners, really diving into the research, I found there is a time and place for high quality targeted supplementation. Doesn't mean you go down to your local Costco and buy the huge thing of synthetic multivitamins from, Centrum Silver, whatever brand, and call it a day and think you're all set, because that's really not a good way to go about it. And quality does make or break the benefits you're going to get from that supplement. But today I'm not going to dive into my favorite supplements because I'll save that for another time. There's a lot of different products, a lot of different things I use, nutritional supplements for in my practice. I'm going to mainly dive into if they're important and why. And, most people would think if you're eating a well-balanced diet, you're getting some sensible sun exposure, you're staying hydrated, you're getting adequate sleep, there's no need for supplementation. And what I'm going to explain is in today's world, that's really not the case. And it's not like you're going to fall apart and die tomorrow if you don't take supplements. But what is important to understand is when it comes to optimal health and avoiding suboptimal nutrient status, it's darn near impossible to do that through food alone in today's day and age. And don't get me wrong, your diet, your lifestyle, this is all the foundation of a healthy body, of a healthy life. So I don't want you to mistake this into thinking supplements are the end all be all, because you really can't supplement your way out of an unhealthy lifestyle. And so you want to always focus on those lifestyle variables first and foremost. But even if you're doing everything right from a diet and lifestyle perspective, which very few people are, let's be honest, supplementing with certain nutrients can still be helpful. So I'm going to list a few reasons. One, our food is not nearly as nutrient dense as it used to be. The vast majority of our crops, of our vegetables, our fruits, various foods are grown in nutrient depleted soils. And it's because of modern farming practices where it's more profitable to essentially do this monocropping, and commercial farmers only add in NPK fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are the three basic compounds plants need to grow, but they neglect the hundreds of other vitamins, minerals, trace elements that our bodies require for optimal health. So over time, this has created soil that's devoid of these these valuable nutrients. And as a result, the plants we eat contain a small fraction of the vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients they did if you compare them to 50 years ago, 100 years ago. I mean, it's crazy, the decline in nutrient density. So that's one reason why we may not be able to get enough nutrients through food alone. And one thing, before I move on to the next one, is a lot of people, dietetics specifically, are taught that if you're eating a well-balanced diet, you'll get adequate amounts of all your nutrients. And they've actually looked at this, and there's been studies done analyzing, okay, you're getting adequate calories, you're eating a well-balanced diet, which is obviously very subjective. And what they find is every single person ever tested has a number of nutrient deficiencies because you just can't get enough of these things through food alone, even if you're eating fairly well. Now, like I said at the beginning, it doesn't mean that you're going to be completely malnourished and, you're just going to become a mess and, not be able to sustain life. But there's a difference between optimal and, really going towards that optimal level versus just the norm or just getting by. So reason number 2, stress increases our body's nutrient requirements. So most of us live in a state of chronic stress. Obviously, we have beneficial stress that depletes our nutrient status, such as exercise, sun exposure. Doesn't really deplete it, but it's still these things, sauna, cold thermogenesis, these things can be depleting to the body. But even if you're not an athlete, all forms of stress, work stress, family stress, and all these things really contribute to the nutrient demand in our bodies. So in today's hard charging, fast-paced world where a lot of us are subjected to some degree of stress, we can all benefit from higher intake of nutrients. Number 3, nutrient absorption declines with age. So as we get older, our ability to absorb these nutrients from food declines. And this is in part due to a lower production of hydrochloric acid, decline of our production of digestive enzymes, and also just because of the way that our gut microbiome shifts as we get older. And so because we absorb less of these nutrients from our already depleted food, bringing some in can be helpful. There's, obviously the increase in toxin exposure. Today we're bombarded by chemicals. As of 2018, there are over 6 trillion pounds of synthetic chemicals being produced in our environment and released each year. And the vast majority of these have never been tested on humans. They didn't exist hundreds of years ago. And so we haven't really evolved to be able to handle this onslaught of chemicals. And these things get into the water supply, the food supply, the air we breathe, the houses that we live in. It's surrounding all of us. So unless you live in some pristine rainforest, you have some degree of toxic exposure. And to combat these negative effects, we need higher amounts of antioxidants, of vitamins, of minerals, things that help our bodies detoxify and support our main organs of detoxification. And reason number 5, food is no longer fresh. As soon as a fruit or vegetable is picked, the nutrients, specifically the vitamins, begin to degrade very quickly. Minerals are quite stable, but vitamins begin to degrade. And most of the food we buy at grocery stores are shipped thousands of miles. It sits for long periods of time. It's very rare to get fresh produce picked within a day or two of, the time you consume it. So, bottom line here, as I wrap up this long-winded answer to the question, I believe in a little better living through science, that bringing in additional amounts of these nutrients where appropriate, not just blindly taking vitamin D at this random dosage because you heard on the radio that this was a good idea, but really working with a practitioner, doing the right testing, functional medicine labs, figuring out what your body needs more of, looking at your diet, seeing where there's some gaps, which we all have, and also looking at your symptomology. Where are you looking to improve? Do you have low energy? Do you have brain fog? Do you have trouble sleeping, low sex drive? All these things can really be indicative of what nutrients you may not be getting enough of. And when you bring those nutrients in from a high quality source, works wonders. So that's my answer to the question on why supplements are important. I hope you found this helpful. Please share it along to anyone that is interested in high quality supplementation and the reasoning behind it. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you found it helpful, please share it along to anyone else you believe it can serve. You can submit your own question to be answered on the show by going to ryankennedyhealth.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review for the show. Your feedback helps to support me on my mission to positively impact as many people as possible with this information. Please note, the information depicted in this episode is purely for informational purposes only. Please consult your healthcare professional before making any changes to your lifestyle or routine.